Hello, everybody, and welcome to Michal's Cafe Clinic number 10. This is it. This is it. This is my last clinic at this program. I've had so much fun creating them, advertising them, editing them, and getting all the response for them. I can honestly say with all my heart that I have gained so much knowledge, experience, memories, and useful exposure I think than I can ever give you. So thank you to everybody that attended my clinics, and thank you so much for all of your support, all of your time, and I really hope that you enjoyed them. I am currently actually in Israel. I just got here yesterday, and it is 2 a.m. currently, so commitment. I've never done my makeup at night before, but I'm happy to finish up strong with, I think, one of the most interesting topics that I can share with you today. Today, we're going to talk about how to create opportunities rather than just waiting for them. And so, let's get down to business. What is an opportunity? The definition of opportunity, according to dictionary.com, is an appropriate or favorable time or occasion, a meeting that is afforded an opportunity to exchange views, a situation or condition favorable for attaining a goal, a good position, chance, or prospect as for advancement or success. All of these are excellent definitions, definitely, but they are also a little bit problematic, and I'll explain why. The problem with these definitions is that it is kind of like telling you that you have to wait around for the perfect opportunity or the perfect situation or scenario to take action. But I want to encourage you to take action yourself for more than just waiting around for the perfect moment. You have to create that moment. And this is really the punchline of the whole clinic, but I'm going to get in more into it and how you can do it and how you can create those opportunities for yourself. So you must have heard the quote, strike the iron while it's hot, metaphorically, of course. And although it is absolutely right, it is encouraging people to wait for the iron to be hot when striking it instead of striking it again and again and again until it gets hot. And this is a very good tip that I learned from Matt Morris, who wrote several books about entrepreneur and marketing. Many people will wait for the right opportunity their entire lives. And you know what? That opportunity might never come. You're not going to just get that phone call that will change your life. You're not just simply going to be offered this amazing opportunity without any action on your part. It just doesn't happen, which is why you have to take action and make it happen for yourself. It is easier to blame others rather than taking responsibilities and solve the problem. And all of these things that I keep hearing from other people, and I'm sure you heard it too. And to be honest with you, I also sometimes say it out loud, but I try to catch myself and do something about it. I'll do it when XYZ happen, or if you are lucky, then this and this happen, and it won't work because of that and that. There's nothing available. I already checked. I'll wait until I'm fired to do this, or if it meant to be, then it will happen. The entrepreneur Noah Kagan was working in Google, and he now has his own app company in Asia. He calls all these excuses conditional living, and he shared a very, very simple example, but it just demonstrates this idea really, really well. He used to live in a building, and there was a realtor that really wanted to live in his building, but none of the properties were available. So this person reached out to Kagan and to all of the other tenders that owns apartments in the building to try and purchase their property. And despite the fact that none of the properties were listed and none of the properties were available, she asked them by email, she reached out to them, she tracked them down and saw if maybe some of them is still interested in doing it. And even though none of the owners were interested, Kagan pointed out that this realtor built a rapport with potential sellers, which will help her down the line much more. Simply bidding her time and waiting for something to appear on the market would be a much worse situation. So it's things like that. It's taking action. It's doing the step that will help you reach your goal. You can create opportunities by striking that metaphorical iron so much more when it's hot. You actually create the opportunity by making the iron hot from taking the actions and the effort. So, yes, all good things come to those who wait, but waiting is for those that do the work on a daily basis and try to be their best and challenge themselves all the time and take action. And then with that, you have to be patient because success doesn't happen overnight. It comes with hard work and persistence. And yes, for those who wait, but not those who wait with their arms together and just waiting for something to happen. So, personally, humble brag, I feel like people, especially here in Israel, people think that I'm successful because I went to college in America and I took advantage of the fact that I'm a talented swimmer and got a scholarship at a Division 1 school, and because I took advantage of my injury that I tore my ACL and started an MBA at Stony Brook University. So what happened really is that my senior year in Michigan, I got injured. Fast forwarding to the end of the year, I really wanted to make a comeback, and I reached out to different coaches, and one coach just told me, "You didn't race all year. You know you still have another year of eligibility. Why don't you start your master's degree and maybe you might even get some scholarship money and make a comeback?" And that's how I found Stony Brook. And I had an amazing year. I was declared a conference champion, and obviously it didn't happen because I got a phone call being like, "Oh, hey, I heard you got injured. Maybe you want to join our team next year and start your master's." No, it happened because I took action and I approached it and I did the research and I was ready to take action over it. And I'll tell you something else. Michel's Cafe, I did not get a call from Doreen being like, "Oh, hey, would you like to have a clinic series, Michel's Cafe, and to have these like interesting conversations with our wise students?" No, what happened was that I needed some scholarship money and I had an internship with WISE for 6 months or so. And I approached Doreen and I said, "Hey, I'm wondering if you maybe have a GA position available that I can take." And then we came together with Michel's Cafe, and now they said that they're going to have these cafe series for many years to come, obviously led by somebody else every time. And just like that, I created a ton of exposure for me. Every single clinic that I had, I edited it into a video. The video is on my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is on my blog. And I already got some offers and interest and exposure and like a lot of good feedback from all of the clinics that I've been posting. So this is not because I'm lucky, and it's not because I was waiting for something to happen. It's because I took action and I created it for myself. So it's funny to me that people think that it is luck, but it's really not. It's being lucky to be in a situation where you can recognize the fact that you have an option to do something here, that you can do the action and advance yourself in any situation that you want. So I kept creating and I will keep creating opportunities for myself, and that will go a long way. Every single thing that I accomplished in my life is really because I took the action. I want us all to take a minute and reflect. All of you wise students are highly successful and talented. I want you to think about something that you're successful at, that you are very proud of, and think about, was it luck that got you to where you are today? Was it because you were lucky to be talented in it? Or was it because you did the hard work and you created this opportunity and situation for yourself? So take a minute to think about it. And if somebody would like to share, it's a safe space. I would love to hear you. So 1 minute on the clock. Go.
I think, well, a success for me, I feel like that I worked hard for was just practically like getting into the WISE program because it is a difficult program to get in. And I didn't realize that until they were like, when I actually looked at like the prerequisites and like what was required to get in, I was like, wow, like that's really hard. Like, how did I do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Getting into the WISE program, it's an accomplishment to it itself. And everything that the WISE program offers, whether to be a mentor, it's something that you can definitely put on your resume and it offers you a lot of good experience, or being engaged with all of their events that are essentially opportunities, or to be on the e-board even. I don't think we have any e-board members with us today, but they are always looking for e-boards every year, so maybe even that.
Um, I guess something that I've always been like proud of myself is learning English. So well, my whole family speaks Spanish, right? And so I didn't really have anyone to teach me English, like besides school. And so I always felt that like I was kind of at a disadvantage. And so, even from like kindergarten and like first grade, I know that I had to kind of put in extra work to just be able to speak the language and be able to communicate my ideas as freely as some of the other kids in my class.
That's awesome. I can totally relate. I speak three languages, and English was definitely the hardest one to learn. And I mean, I think Americans don't even realize how difficult and does not make sense the language is sometimes, and you have to learn it the hard way through practice. So, really good for you. So you kind of got the basics of what I'm going to say, but let's dive into what to actually do into creating opportunities. I divided it into three sections, although online you can find a lot more. I just find it a little complicated because it is a very simple idea. So three parts. Number one, easy. If you need something, ask. If you want something, speak up about it. You want to advance yourself? Find out how you can do it. Find out on LinkedIn if there's an internship or something that you can take part of, if there's an organization on campus that you can become a part of, if there's a club on campus that you can join, if there's a volunteering opportunity in your field with people that are experts in your field that you can join, find out. There is a way. There must be a way. For me, in marketing, one way was to have this clinic. I did not realize how much work it was going to be, not just to show up to the clinic, but to plan the clinic, to rehearse the clinic, to edit all the clinics, to get people to come, to advertise it, to post it on my website and blog. This is it. This is marketing. This is what I need to do. So I definitely found a way, and I will keep finding more ways. So you need to do the same for your profession. I already told you, I never got the phone call being like, hey, do you want to do Michel's Cafe? No, I asked for it. You need money for school? Apply for scholarship. Every year, every school and every community offers scholarship opportunities, and no one is applying for it. I I think it was my junior year that I applied for a scholarship. It was like a diversity scholarship, and I had to write an essay about how I come about bringing diversity onto my community. And I got $500. Not because my essay was that good. I just think that there were so few people that actually applied for it. It is like ridiculous. Students really need money, and they don't even look at the scholarship website on Stony Brook University to see if there's something that they can apply for, or something like that. So definitely look into that. It's too bad that not many students are looking into the scholarship opportunities. And as I told you, thankfully I got some fund for Michel's Cafe to do it. You want to make friends, attend events and talk to people and see if you have people that share the same similarities, the same habits, the same hobbies as you, that you can become friends with. And that's the only way to do it. A quick romantic story about how I met my future husband. I'm now engaged. It was the summer of 2018. I was injured. I just tore my ACL. I was waiting for surgery. I thought I'm done with swimming. This was my senior year as an undergrad. And so when all of my team went to Florida for training trip, I came back home to Israel. And I came to the swimming meet, the national, to cheer on my friends. And I saw him there. Um, he's an American, but he has Israeli citizenship. So he came to compete. And I knew that he's this like fast American, but I never really met him. And we talked to each other a little bit, and then we went to the same New Year's Eve party. And at the party, we really like started off, had really good connection. But next day he flew back to New York, and I thought I'd never see him again and would never talk to him again. But somehow we kept the conversation going, and one day it was just like, New York is not that far from Michigan. And he convinced me to go. But my mom really pushed me to do it. I was like, no, no, like, I don't really know you. It's really a risk to fly from Michigan to New York. And my mom was like, you're kidding me? Like, it's such a nice gesture. You should totally go. And when I went, that's when we like established our relationship, like being a couple. And a year later, we got engaged. So all of that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me being injured and not being able to go to Florida for my training trip. And definitely wouldn't have happened if I didn't attend that party. That was actually a really inconvenient for me because I was like with my family and whatever, and I had to take a bus to attend that party. But I guess like I liked him from the few words that we spoke, so maybe I was looking forward to it. But I had a one-on-one meeting with one student, and she told me, I feel like it's been so difficult this year to make friends. And I was like, well, yeah, you are a freshman during the year of 2020. I mean, hats off to you. It is really difficult to find friends when you're not allowed to meet with them. But did you do anything about it? And she says, no. And I'm like, well, you are attending a mentorship group with guys every week. Why don't you speak up and say like, hey guys, maybe we can, form a discussion friendly outside of the WISE platform. Maybe we can even meet outdoors with appropriate safety measurements or something like that. Did you try to do anything about it? And she says no. So it's such a simple ask, like just say, just speak up, just try to do it. The worst case scenario is that they say no. So you're in the same place as you were before. Like if you are looking for something big, it's okay to get a no. It's not a bad thing. The second part is to go public with your expertise. Every one of you here is smarter than everyone else at least one thing. And that means that you can teach everyone else that one thing that you're better than them at something. Why not share it? Not just in like a private situation, but go public with it. That's what social media is for, to bring about different ideas, to talk about your expertise, to bring to the table something new and interesting. And for you, that might be talking about the stars, or talking about chemistry, or posting articles that are groundbreaking in your field. And it might be as small as that, and it might be even building your own website and putting your homework assignment and the blog and stuff like that, and kind of building the ground for potential employers, or even like community experts, to see who you are and what you can do. And there's so many ways to go and do it. If you are not the smartest person in the room, you need to leave the room. You need to find a different room to attend. And that's the saying. If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You can always learn something from somebody, and it's important to remember. So work at deepening your knowledge and sharing it with the world. If you do this effectively, you will get noticed among the people who matter in your field. And you are in a much better position to create opportunities for yourself if you are no longer one of the many, but one of the few. So that's also, if I'm talking about myself, one thing that really motivated me to have this Michal's Cafe clinic, for example, because I knew, wow, 10 posts of me talking about different issues, I'm sure somebody will notice it and it will help me later in my career. So think about it. I know it's much trickier in STEM, but I am sure that you can find a way. For example, become a mentor and WISE. Maybe you are a mentor already. That's one way to become a leader and to kind of train your leadership skills, or maybe even become an e-board member, something like that you can do that will, make you one of the few. So in conclusion, create a set of circumstances on your own instead of waiting for them. The third part is to build a network. Everywhere and always, networking, 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 at all events, at all social situations. Every chance that you have to meet somebody new that might help you in the future, and not even about, exchanging exchanging favors. It might just be because it's really nice, but it might come as a surprise in the future. I can share a couple of stories of how, like, just a social gathering came as a surprise for me and helped me later on. I went to, when I was in Michigan, a sophomore, I was invited for a holiday dinner and I met a really nice family there. And just now, and that was like, what, 4 years ago? Never heard from them again, but we did exchange Facebooks. And then I was living in North Carolina the past 8 months, and she messaged me on Facebook and she's like, "Hey, I noticed on Facebook that you are in North Carolina. We're in Charlotte for the weekend. Would you like to meet for coffee?" And I met with them and we had like the best day drinking coffee. Obviously, it was outside and with a mask, but apparently she works at Monday.com, which is like a really big company. Not a really big company, it's kind of a startup, but it's a growing company. And now that I'm looking for a job, I'm going to be graduating this semester. I reached out to her and she's like, "Absolutely, I'll see what you can do, what I can do." So something like that can really be beneficial for me, even just knowing somebody in the field. Monday.com is that company that creates a really useful software, kind of like Slack, for organizations to communicate and to keep track of tasks and things like that. I just went on a flight. It was not an easy flight, especially to be with the mask on at all the time. But I had a really interesting conversation with this one Israeli woman about the difference between living in America and living in Israel. And we had like 10 hours in a flight, and we had a really nice time. And I ended up like giving her my business card, which, by the way, I don't really like. So I'm not trying to get rid of them, so I can design a better one. But I made this 50 cards on Canva. It cost me like $10. And it's so easy to exchange cards some way. Maybe sometime in the future, this woman can, for the very least, be a friend of mine. If I'll see her again, I hope I will. But maybe she will come as a helpful mentor for me sometime in the future. It never hurts to build your community, especially as Israelis in the United States. So every chance that you have to interact with other people, introduce yourself, exchange ideas is fun and also can really be helpful for you in the future. I want to show you this TED Talk that I absolutely love. I've watched it like so many times. It's about this guy, and he's talking about how you can be a leader every day, and you can be making a really big difference in somebody's life just by talking to him or just by saying something. And he's calling it lollipop moments. So I'll let him talk to you. It's a very cool video.
I want to start by asking everyone in the audience here a question. How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader, and we don't let ourselves take credit for it, and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school on a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, "I remember the first time that I met you." And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, On my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad, and I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day, and if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what. And she said, so I went the next day, and I was standing in line getting ready for registration, and I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision, and as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the student union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me and you just stopped and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me and you smiled and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face and you looked at my mom and my dad and you said, look at that, look at that. First day away from home and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment, and I've searched my memory banks because that is funny, and I should remember doing it, and I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, you've been an incredibly important person in my life, was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us. And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you've changed the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with you today. Have a great day at TED. I'll see you later.
Love that video, and I love that message, and I love that story. Can you imagine coming up to somebody and just, can you believe it, taking a lollipop from a stranger? So I want you ladies, to think about a lollipop moment, whether it'll be you think you created a lollipop moment for somebody, or that somebody that doesn't know made a lollipop moment for you. And I'll go first. And I really want to hear it. Like, I think it's so special and unique. Um, this goes back to my freshman year in college. My English was not nearly as good as it is now, and even now it's not perfect. And I was trying to create cell phone service for me, and I went to T-Mobile, and it did not work. It did not work on my phone. I had to go back there maybe 3 times, and it sounds so silly, but I had a nervous breakdown over it. Like, I was not understanding the guy. I couldn't understand the person. There was a teammate that was supposed to like pick me up, and I couldn't find her, and I wasn't able to reach her. And thankfully, I did then reach her, and she helped me out by coming into the store and explaining to me, and she helped me. But then later we went to Trader Joe's, and I was still like red and puffy from like crying. And I know it sounds silly, but this was like me back in my freshman year. And coming to the registry, and the guy at the cashier, he's like, "Did you find everything okay today?" And I'm like still sobbing, being like, I'm actually having like a really difficult day. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." And then when I was just done taking my bags, he handed me a flower from Trader Joe's, and he said, "This is for you, this is on us." And that like made my day, because I was like so upset. I didn't even know why I'm in America. I was like, everything was so overwhelming for me. And then a guy just, out of kindness gives me a flower. And I've never seen that guy ever again, but he made definitely that day better. And it was just a symbol for me of like really good people. So, can anybody else share a lollipop moment? And if you want to take a minute to think about it, just let me know.
I can go. So as like most people know, because they're my mentees, right? My major is physics, and now that I'm writing like personal statements and I'm thinking or like reflecting upon like my journey into physics, I used to always say that like my aha moment, or I guess my lollipop moment for like why I got into this major, was because I met this really cool scientist, and he kind of broke things down for me and like made me feel like I was one amongst like the big ones or the big scientists in my field. Um, which actually, the moment that kind of kept me in my major, and I guess like the best lollipop moment that I could think of, was actually my first research mentor, where instead of asking me like, do I understand, and asking me all these like academic questions, she simply just asked me whether or not I was happy and whether or not I was doing okay. And it like totally changed our relationship from, instead of me feeling always so pressured to like say the right things, for me to finally be able to sit back and be like, oh, she's a person, and there's more to science than just always having the correct answers and always trying to make progress. There's also like a humanity in it that's really beautiful too.
I love it. I love that story. That's awesome. I'll read the one from the chat. A moment for me would be when a person approached me who couldn't speak English and asked me to translate for him. I did, and they thanked me, but it made me feel better as I realized how hard it is for many to communicate when they don't know the language. And a simple thank you solidifies the moment of gratefulness. I know that I have been using other friends to help me either translate or understand better many, many times. And if it wasn't for them, I might have just quit on the whole idea. Um, so thank you for being that person that creating the lollipop moment to others. If you do things, you think outside the box, you are taking an extra step towards something, you're taking a chance, you're building up your courage to do something, you are almost always going to end up with a win. It might be a small win, and it might be a really big one. So that's honestly the message that I want you to take with you. And that's honestly all I have for you today. It's a very simple concept. To create opportunities for yourself, you have to take action. That's in one sentence the summarize of the whole clinic. Once again, thank you so much for attending the clinic. I really hope that you enjoyed it and you learned something new. And thank you for all of your support and feedback throughout Michal's Cafe. And this has honestly been so awesome for me to lead. I enjoyed it a lot. I learned from it a lot. And I really hope that I was a little bit helpful for you and maybe even created a lollipop moment for one of you. Would be, I would love to know that, by the way. But thank you so much.